Board of Trustees. Let's remember to silence your cell phones. Go ahead, take them on. I don't mind. Take a look as we welcome you to the UU congregation of the Shenandoah Valley. As UUs, we embrace the beauty and spirit of diversity, not bound to or by a specific creed, but through covenant, we affirm, practice, and promote 8 principles as our core values, with love a common thread throughout. If you're new to UU, you can find these 8 principles, along with our mission statement, inside your order of service. We'd like to recognize our first and second time visitors, those of you who have not been here a while, to stand if you're comfortable in doing so. Introduce yourself and tell us where you're from. Can we start over here? Anybody? There we go. Good.
I'm Leslie Gold. I'm in from DC, and I'm a member of the Davies Unitarian Universalist in Maryland, Southern Maryland.
Wonderful to have you.
Welcome. To be here at another congregation. Thank you, Dave.
Anybody else on this side? How about over here? Just the regulars. All right. Okay. Well, thank you for coming today. We'd like to get to know you much better. So here's a couple of options. You can fill out these orange cards, which are located in the back of your pew, and drop them in the collection plate, or there's a table outside before you. And if your schedule permits, please join us for a coffee hour directly after the service. Folks from our membership committee, identified with orange name tags, will be available to answer any questions that you might have. Now, for those who are comfortable in participating, we end this part of the service with our land acknowledgement, and it's located in the back of the order of service. So, if those of you who are ready, UUCSV acknowledges with respect that the land we are on today is the ancestral home of the Cherokee and of other indigenous people. The Cherokee, through stewardship, understanding, and conservation, survive and thrive in this land. We acknowledge their enduring connection to their homeland. Thank you. Let's begin our service.
Good morning, free thinkers. I see only one brave soul decided who didn't already know me. You know, I guess that name on the billboard just doesn't bring him in. I'm grateful if even one person goes out of their way to hear me speak. So to see a room like this, you can imagine how happy I am to see all of you. For any of you who don't know me, and who wonder who this short, round, bald guy is, Andy is going to do a formal introduction later. So you'll have to just look at your order of service and figure it out. By the way, it really is easier to wear one of these things if you have hair. I just discovered that. On Wednesday, June 25th, I played the New York Times spelling bee, as I do every day. How many here are spelling beers? Oh, pretty good number. The pangram, that's the word that used all the letters, the pangram of that day was non-belief. Ironically, I took that as a sign. But not from God, since I had just sat down at my computer to work on this sermon and service about non-belief. According to UU World magazine, 46% of UUs are humanists, atheists, or agnostics when it comes to God. So about half of you here today did not come seeking to worship or commune with God or any other divine spirit. We each come here because we need something that this unique place offers. Perhaps for you it's intellectual gymnastics without a partisan bent. UUCSV is a large part of my social existence, but I also come hoping that I might learn something useful or valuable, or simply enjoy being reminded of experiences with my parents as a UU fellowship when I was a young boy. All of those reasons that brought you here, metaphorically captured in our lighting of the chalice. We help each other avoid the gloom that comes into every life sometimes. Even one tiny light defeats darkness. May you find here today a spark to illuminate your day. And now, would you please join me, rise if you're willing and able, and sing hymn number 34, Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire. I've chosen a responsive reading this morning that I think is appropriate for the day. It's reading number 650 in the black hymnal. Give you a moment to find it. Cherish your doubts, for doubt is the attendant of truth.
Doubt is the key to the door of knowledge. It is the servant of discovery.
A belief which may not be questioned binds us to error, for there is incompleteness and imperfection in every belief.
Doubt is the touchstone of truth. It is an acid which eats away the false.
Let no one fear the truth, that doubt may consume it, for doubt is a testing of belief.
The truth stands boldly and unafraid. It is not shaken by testing.
For truth, if it be truth, arises from each testing stronger, more secure.
Those that with silence doubt are filled with fear. Their houses are built on shifting sands.
But those who fear not doubt and know its use are founded on rock.
They shall walk in the light of knowledge. The work of their hands shall endure.
Therefore, let us not fear doubt, but let us rejoice in its help.
It is to the wise as a staff to the blind. Doubt is the attendant of truth.
This is the time in our service when we invite everyone to come forward and light a candle or place a stone in the water to silently express your joys, your concerns, your sorrows. So please do come forward. And I will lead off without lighting a candle. I want to express a joy and gratitude to Bill Altork, who I'm sad to say is not here this morning, who last week, like me, was very disturbed when our speaker used this microphone and we all heard the noise that came from the bending of this. Bill WD-40'd it to perfection. Please do come forward.
I want to kick it off. I just learned that today is Harry Petriquin's 96th birthday. He's not here with us. We won't be singing, but in our heads we will.
96. Wow.
Would anyone like a bowl brought to them for a stone? A.J. Ayer, the eminent 20th century philosopher and lecturer at Oxford University, wrote, There is no doubt the belief in God has frequently been the source of moral incentives. It was the belief that men were not generally capable of behaving decently without this prudential motive that led Voltaire to say that if God did not exist, it would be necessary to invent him. This is a good epigram, but like many good epigrams, it probably distorts the truth. As Ayer said, I do not know that a scientific study has ever been made of this question, but if one were to be made, I doubt it would reveal any strong correlation, either of morally admirable behavior with religious belief, or of morally reprehensible behavior with its absence. Much good has been done in the name of religion, but also very much evil. When the long history of religious intolerance and persecution is taken into account, together with the tendency of religious hierarchies to side with the oppressors rather than with the oppressed, it's arguable that the evil has outweighed the good. Many bad men have indeed been irreligious, but many agnostics and atheists have led very decent lives. Neither do those who are sincerely religious always live up to their good principles. Now we will collect the offering so that the work of this congregation and this church home can continue and thrive. Thank you all for your generosity. Now, the show begins. It's really a pleasure for me to introduce Jeff. Though many of you, almost all of you, think you already know him. I was fortunate to get to know him primarily through his two novels, Perpetuonics and Jerome v. God, which he trusted me to get into print through my company, and he has those for sale outside. But even those who think you know Jeff probably don't know some of his background. How many here knew that he grew up in Saudi Arabia? Not bad. And that he went to high school in Beirut, Lebanon. A little fewer. He then went to Massachusetts and earned a degree in broadcasting and film from Boston University, which is also where he met Diane. And back in the 1970s, with that handy degree, Jeff became a TV producer at WGBH Television in Boston. Now, I remember that station very well because it produced really great shows when I was in New York, also working in TV, but at NBC. It produced shows like Nova, Frontline, American Experience, The French Chef with Julia Child, if you remember her, and Antiques Roadshow. Now, I've never asked Jeff what shows he worked on, because his bigger contribution was in pioneering the closed captioning service that makes television accessible to people who are deaf or hard of hearing, including captioning live programs. And later, he was a founder of VITAC, V-I-T-A-C, the captioning company. Since he retired to Black Mountain, as everyone knows, he created a collection of children's stories, songs, and videos about Denton the Dragon, including a stage show, Denton the Dragon, the musical, which he wrote with Matthew Gold. So with that in mind, let's enjoy what Jeff has to share about atheism or non-belief as a force for good.
Thank you, Andy. Boy, am I uncomfortable wearing a coat and tie. Andy, the show that I worked on first at WGBH was Zoom. I don't know if any of you remember Zoom, a show for younger children, between like 7 and 12. As I planned this sermon, I had something different in mind. I was going to do it like a game show, with a panel asking me questions, trying to get me to admit that there is no God, that there is a God, a traditional God. I hoped it would be funny and insightful at the same time. It wasn't. It was neither of those, so I gave up on that idea, and this is what you get instead. I've called myself an atheist since I was 14. Later, I went with non-theist and even later humanist. There are subtle differences in each name, but the debate over what to call myself is not a productive one. Maybe we atheists need a better word to describe ourselves, one that is less negatively charged. The word is so tainted by some past and present self-avowed atheists that calling oneself an atheist upsets some believers in a traditional God. Atheist, after all, means against God. Well, I'm not against God, any more than I'm against the tooth fairy. And I am definitely not anti-unicorn. The obvious alternative, then, is humanist. Many people who think as I do have taken the humanist label as more acceptable. I could certainly live with that label. I am in almost total agreement with the main humanist principles. I chart my own course, as do all of you. Somehow it seems cowardly to me to run away from the word atheist. I am an atheist. A thirsty atheist. I do not believe even one little bit in a supernatural being that most people call God. We're hoping that's not going to slide, this water. It's a lot easier to keep it up here. If you see nature's hand at work, including natural selection, and you want to call that God, or if you believe in a personal God that hears your prayers and responds to them in some way, I have no interest in changing your mind. I accept that that's what you believe. You don't need my permission to believe it, or anyone else's. And just because I believe something else is no reason for either of us to be offended by the other's beliefs. I do not want to convince anyone to become an atheist or a humanist or even a Unitarian, though I would be delighted if he or she did. What I want is broader acceptance and understanding of non-belief. Don't all of you want your beliefs to be tolerated or even respected by people who disagree with you? Faith is a funny commodity. There are hundreds of books that seek to provide evidence or logic to bolster just about any religious belief you could name. Yet I cannot think of a single person who changed his or her faith because they were confronted with good arguments against it. We like our beliefs. We're comfortable with them, and we tend to reject and even be offended by attempts to tell us why our beliefs are wrong. Applying logic or science to ideas that are neither logical nor scientific seems like a waste of time. And in any event, why bother? Why concern yourself with attempting to prove that others' beliefs are wrong? You believe what you believe. Why should I want to change you or harm you because of that? I believe what I believe. Why should you want to change or harm me because of it? I'm not a non-believer just to piss you off. I have considered and learned a lot about Christianity and other beliefs. I have read the entire Bible. And I've discovered that those beliefs simply won't stick in my brain. I would wager that few theists have considered and learned as much about atheism as I've learned about their beliefs. I suspect fear is a major factor in that deliberate ignorance. Theists have told me they can't imagine how they could go on living if they stopped believing in God. It's well documented that when many evangelical and fundamentalist people delve into the world of historical fact, as opposed to the fiction that is most of the Bible, they come away more tolerant of other perspectives on God, and some become entirely non-theistic. So, before I tell you how atheism is a force for good in the world, and please notice I did not say can be a force for good, I said it is a force for good in the world, I want to get rid of some of the negatives attached to the word. We atheists are our own worst enemies. We elevate, or let the mainstream media elevate, our most angry members. It's not that people such as Christopher Hitchens and Richard Dawkins are wrong in their thinking, but they are strident. Their writings bring anger and confrontation to the debates about God. That makes them more entertaining to the masses, which in turn encourages them to be angrier. The shrill voice gets all the attention. Biologist and outspoken atheist Richard Dawkins says in his book, The God Delusion, that the dictionary defines a delusion as a persistent false belief held in the face of strong contradictory evidence, especially as a symptom of psychiatric disorder. The first part captures religious faith perfectly. As to whether it is a symptom of a psychiatric disorder, I'm inclined to follow Robert Pirsig, author of Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, who said, quote, when one person suffers from a delusion, it is called insanity. When many people suffer from a delusion, it is called religion. End quote. It's a funny line, as long as it's about someone else's religion. But I can see why people take offense. I wouldn't like to have my beliefs belittled as delusional. Now, most of us atheists are quiet and tolerant of what others believe. Our point is that no one can prove God's existence or lack of existence. In matters of sincere faith or uncertainty, we admit that the strength of our belief does not constitute evidence. We admit we could be wrong. We wish all believers in God would admit the same. Here's one more example of the slander against believers. H.L. Mencken, the great American journalist and commentator, and a renowned atheist, wrote, every man prefers what he can understand to what puzzles and dismays him. The popularity of fundamentalism among the inferior orders of men is explicable in exactly the same way. The cosmogony of Genesis is so simple that even a yokel can grasp it. It is set forth in a few phrases. It offers to an ignorant man the irresistible reasonableness of the nonsensical. End of Mencken's quote. Now, what do all people, and not just believers, hear in this dissonance? They hear pessimism and negativity. There are 5 ways in which people react. Number 1, some of them pity the atheist because he has no center other than science, which is a cold mistress, unlike their warm, embracing God. Some of them feel threatened by us in the same way we feel threatened by them. They think we want to take away their ability to worship as they see fit, and we atheists feel religion is crammed down our throats at every turn. The third way people react. Some people are not threatened, as in afraid, but they are insulted. They see a strident atheist as one who is poking a finger at them, telling them that they're stupid for believing as they do, or if not stupid, then under a delusion. The offense is taken badly. Who are you to call me delusional? And it's a fair question. Number 4, some people are in sympathy with the ideas of the superstars of atheism, but reject their stridency. This is where I land. I see no benefit to being confrontational. How can I demand respect for my beliefs if I'm not willing to grant others the same respect? Some people, of course, are the followers of the informal nation of atheism. They really are angry that atheists have been reviled and persecuted and even killed for centuries. That we are one of the last minorities that it's still respectable to condemn. I too am sick of this discrimination and revulsion towards me because of my beliefs. It makes it hard to speak out and say, I am an atheist. There are more atheists in the closet these days than there are LGBTQ people. If someone is good just because they're afraid of what some God will do to them, then basically they're saying that without that fear, they'd be bad. Theists think that fear of eternal punishment will make me and others behave morally. They can't understand why else I would care about the law and ethical behavior. So in part, the good news about humanism is it provides freedom from irrational fear. What is the other good news? Why aren't preachers and media analysts talking about the positive things that we can say about atheists? Maybe it's because we're not giving them anything positive to say. Dawkins wrote, quote, "Being an atheist is nothing to be apologetic about. On the contrary, it's something to be proud of, standing tall to face the far horizon. For atheism nearly always indicates a healthy independence of mind, and indeed a healthy mind. There are many people who know in their heart of hearts that they are atheists, but dare not admit it to their families or even in some cases to themselves." End quote. I would say I am proud to be an atheist in the same way others are proud to be Christian or Muslim or Jewish or anything else. But I would be lying. I am not proud of what I cannot help but be. Am I proud to be a man? I had no say in the matter. How can I have pride? You can only be proud of things you accomplished. And I did nothing to help myself be born as a white male human. A flip of the genetic coin determined that. One lousy chromosome different, and I would have been a female. Change a couple of DNA instructions, and I might have been a Labrador Retriever. So I'm not proud to be an atheist, but I am thrilled and I'm happy to be one. Now, how can that not be good news? What can we atheists possibly find in a world without God that can make us feel so good? How can atheism possibly be a force for good? First and foremost, it is a liberating theology. I consider atheistic thought to be a result of theological reasoning and not just a matter of science. There are aspects of theology and philosophy that inhabit the mantle of atheism. How is it liberating? More specifically, how is it liberating in a way that does not threaten others of different beliefs? I, as an individual, am empowered to make the best of my life. There is no secret conspiracy against me that I am powerless to control. Many people who believe in the traditional God believe they are powerless and small before God. Such feelings of inferiority lead them to surrender control of their life. They pray and hope that their prayers will be granted, believing that there's nothing more they can do if God's inclined not to answer their prayers. They are willing to say, I accept whatever God may have in store for me. They believe that God is something like an all-powerful person who knows better than they do what is right and what should be. Come to think of it, their deference to God resembles MAGA's deference to their God, the orange monster. We atheists have good news. We say there is no such God. There is no being controlling your life. You can overcome any adversity because no God put that adversity in your path or is keeping it there because of some plan that you can't fathom. You can work hard to improve your life without fear of being undone for reasons unknown. Bad things may happen to you, but no, God decided they would happen. In fact, you not only can take responsibility, but you are obliged to take responsibility for how you respond to adversity, because there is no supernatural force that will come along and do it for you. If you have behaved badly, your redemption is in your own hands, not in Satan and God fighting over your eternal soul. There is no cosmic ledger. The past is past and will not condemn you in this life or in death, its stench lingering around you. So when I tell people, non-yous by the way, that I am an atheist, some are afraid of me, or at least concerned about being near me, perhaps expecting a lightning bolt at any moment. They believe that if I have no fear of God, I will act immorally, which is a direct threat to their peace and prosperity. I assure them that atheism forces me to adopt a rigid moral code. There is no afterlife, so there is no second chance if I screw up. That means there's no room for evil, for hurting others, for acting badly. If anything, the atheist is likely to be more morally upright than the believer, because we know there is no way to absolve ourselves of guilt. If something is contaminated, it's corrupted, spoiled, made impure. In science, it means your sample is no longer going to produce reliable results. What about religion? Is it possible to contaminate a set of beliefs, whether it's UUism or Catholicism or Islam or Hinduism? If we subject our own beliefs, each of us, to contrary arguments, are we contaminated? What if we begin to question ourselves what we believe, to think that we may be wrong about some of it? A lot of people fear that we atheists contaminate society. We muddy the theological waters. They fear most of all, though they never admit it, that we could be right. That's not a thought they dare to entertain. And who can blame them? Isn't atheism a dark faith, one that thrives on the bacteria of negativity, one that denies comfort? That's a common perception, and in most cases, it's a misperception. Today, we regularly see atheists and theists, and unfortunately politicians, arguing about the original intent of the founding fathers of America. I've seen two recent books, one presenting evidence that the founding fathers intended ours to be a Christian country, and the other presenting evidence that Jefferson and others were agnostics or Unitarians or something else, and that they specifically wanted America to be free from the shackles of religion. What a meaningless argument and a waste of time. Whether we're talking about the founders of this country or of this church or of a business. Diane's and my former UU congregation in Pittsburgh was founded in 1960. All of its founders are gone now. I heard debates whether the congregation was moving away from the founders' goals for the church. But why not? Is religious thought unchanging and unchangeable? Doesn't each new minister bring a new perspective? Of course they do. I was a founder of the company I helped run for 15 years. My original goal was to create a small, successful business. I thought if we could get to 25 employees, that would be ideal. Today, my former company has 1,000 employees across the country. Should the people who bought my business have rejected my original goal and kept it small? Of course not. America's founding fathers did not speak with a single voice and a single opinion. They had many different notions. And it's easy to find writings that will support any point of view you wish to propound. There are so many ways in which America is not the same country it was in 1776, yet there are people spending inordinate amounts of time trying to discern the founding fathers' intent. So how does that relate to atheism? Many books claim to show that the founding fathers intended America to be a Christian country. We atheists are a skittish lot when it comes to turning America into a mono-religious society. Visions of even greater persecution dance in our heads, which is a very easy trap to fall into these days. What disturbs me in the writing of many well-known philosophers and scientists who espouse atheism, such as Dawkins and Hutchins, is that their writings do nothing to improve the human condition. I'm sure they would say, we are scientists or rational observers. What care we about the human condition? When did that become our job? To which I say, you're right. I can't tell you what your life's work should be. I can only tell you that the people I admire most are those who use their abilities to improve the human condition, to make life less difficult. We humans have made great strides over the centuries in improving the conditions in which most of us live. Yet everyone must agree that there are still many challenges left for us to confront, and whenever possible, reduce or eliminate those challenges. Life is hard enough. Rather than wasting time condemning others for their beliefs and insisting that they must abandon whatever beliefs or behaviors give them comfort, we should pursue the goal of making life easier in any way we can. I contributed in a small way to improving the quality of life for many people through my work on closed captioning, as Andy mentioned. Captioning, if you're unaware, makes programming accessible to deaf people. That was the original goal. But we've since learned that it also helps the elderly, people in health spas and bars, hospital beds, and airports. Nothing I have done in my life was in hope or expectation of a posthumous reward. Atheism can infuse one with a sense of purpose, a desire to do good works, and a strong moral center. We atheists support humanity and civil rights and all the principles of Unitarian Universalism simply because it is the right thing to do. Because we know and understand well the evils of religious persecution, we are strong in the defense of religious liberty for everyone, including the believers with whom we disagree. We take personal responsibility for our actions and do not ascribe our worst instincts or behaviors to some supernatural cause. Humanism is one of the world's great religions. It is and can be a force for good throughout the world. May it be so. Speaking of atheism, I'm just going to say a couple of quick words about, and I'm very uncomfortable doing this, but if I don't promote my books, they don't get sold. And here's a perfect opportunity to tell people who don't know me and don't know my books that they are out in the lobby, and the first of those is Jerome v. God, which is about a man named Jerome who is an atheist, who sues an evangelist named Gideon. In the courtroom, the atheist, Jerome, must prove that there is a God and that Gideon is God's agent, while Gideon, the evangelist, must renounce God. Little irony in there. I have copies of both books in the lobby, and I would be happy to sign them for you. And now would you rise as you're willing and able and sing hymn number 287, Faith of the Larger Liberty. Said, and I quote, "Being a humanist means trying to behave decently without expectation of rewards or punishment after you are dead." End quote. While you are here, share the cookies, thank those who brought them, volunteer to help them, and go in peace. Thank you.